will give it a few minutes, maybe a minute or two, make sure as many people as can be logged on. And then we can go from there. My name is Armando Bernal. I'm a board certified behavior analyst as well as diagnosed with autism. And so I use my diagnosis to try and better support other individuals with autism and allow parents such like yourself to know exactly what is the purpose about autism, right? And what goes into it, what kind of interventions we can do, all of these amazing, wonderful things. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, wow, Trinidad, that's crazy. That I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation, and we will go ahead and get started. And as we continue on this journey, right, if you have questions, our wonderful technician here, Jen, will be answering anything that she can, and then she'll also be recommending that you book a call with us. It is free, and you guys will learn more about that. So let me go ahead and start this slideshow for everyone. Right, so as I mentioned, that this is going to be an autism story. It's also going to be a question and answer. Jen and myself will be here to answer any questions that you have, and we'll be answering those questions as we continue on. As I mentioned, my name is Armando Bernal. I am a board certified behavior analyst, and I will be your host this evening. I'm here to answer any questions you have about autism, about ABA, applied behavior analysis, whatever it may be. That is what I am here for. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share a quick video about what we have here with Michelle and our team.
I remember when I got pregnant with my daughter, I felt so grateful and so blessed. My life up until that point had been pretty rocky. I'd had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, and I finally thought that I was turning a corner and God was blessing me with this beautiful gift of a child. And I was just, yes, finally something was going in my way. And then when she was born, she was just absolutely perfect. I had all of these dreams and expectations for her. I thought of all the things that I thought she was going to do. Right after her first birthday, I started to notice her behavior changes. She went from, saying that. She was obsessed with Dora the Explorer, Mama, Dada. She was saying it all. Good girl, say Matt. Hit all of her milestones up to that point. She walked at 1. She was eating solid. She just, she looked really good. And then I just remember her, it felt almost overnight or very quickly where her demeanor just changed. She went from this super happy baby to crying and tantruming, just frustrated all the time. And I remember saying to my mom one day during one of these tantrums, like, where did my happy baby go? But I didn't think anything past it. I think I was kind of not ready to fathom that something could be off, even though maybe the telltale signs were there. Started to lose the words that she had gained. She wasn't saying mama anymore. She wasn't saying map. She just seemed really disconnected from us. Instead of playing with her toys, she would take them, dump them all out of her toy box, and just start twisting around her hands aimlessly with no intended purpose. She was really kind of in denial about it. And then I remember one day we were in the middle of a store, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, she just started screaming and yelling like somebody had slapped her. I don't even know what the problem was, and I was so mortified. I didn't even know what to do. I was so scared. I literally just left the half full cart in the store, picked her up, and just ran out of there. Never went to that store again. I just didn't even know what to think, and that was probably the first time it really kind of stung for me that maybe something is wrong. They diagnosed her. They didn't diagnose her right away. They said that she was too young for a diagnosis. I didn't even know what they meant when they said that. I was like, diagnosed with what? I just had no idea what they were talking about. And then they said, we'll come back in if you're not seeing progress. I said, okay, and a couple months later, I'm watching these speech therapists play with her on the floor. I'm not seeing any progress and felt like she was getting a little worse. And then we went for our 2-year-old wellness visit, and the doctor said that she was behind if she wasn't using 20 words with intent. And that was just, that was probably just the knife to my heart. At that point, I really couldn't deny that something was up with her anymore. So then I called the county back in, and she was diagnosed on the spectrum. And I remember that day, and it was worst days of my life. It was my darkest hour. I could easily say that as a mother, as a woman, as just a human being. It was probably one of the hardest times I had ever gone through. And I remember just being I went from being so happy with God, so thankful, to being so pissed at doing this to her and wrecking this beautiful gift He had given me. And for a while there, I struggled. I struggled to figure out what this meant, or what we were going to do, or how this was going to define her. All those dreams I had for her future were just completely shattered, and I just had no idea what was going to happen next. And I went from just hopeful to just complete blank when I thought about the future. One night I was thinking, I'm going to die one day, and who's going to care for her like me? And something about that thought just snapped me out of my depression and my anger and my fear, and said, listen, we got to get to work here. I promised that when she was born, I was going to be the best mother I could be to her. And that promise, it hasn't changed. In fact, she needs me more now than ever, not less. She needs me now more than ever. And I didn't know at the time what we were capable of, or what having those changes, that mindset shift for me was going to do. But I wanted to know that at the end of every night, I could look myself in the mirror with confidence and say, you do everything you could, Michelle, to give her the best possible life. And if the answer was yes, then that was a good day. And I wanted the answer to be yes, 100%. And no matter where the cards fell, I know I could leave this earth saying I gave her everything I had, no regrets. And as I've navigated this world with her and walked away that day after having that thought, I really just grabbed the bull by the horns. I became her fiercest advocate. I'm not a special education master's degree teacher. I never had any formal training in ABA, but I knew that I was going to learn whatever I needed to learn to be really strong for her. And Juliana lost all of her language. She was nonverbal when she was diagnosed. We taught her sign language. Then she went from sign language to word approximations. Then she started to speak. She went from the most restrictive preschool environment. She was in 614, most restricted preschool, special education preschool environment you could be in. To now, where she is almost 8 years old. She's in second grade class in a gen ed school, integrated class with typical peers. She speaks beautifully now. She has a personality. She has conversation skills. There's still things that we need to work on, but for the most part, her future went from black to now having possibilities. And none of that could have happened had I not kind of gotten out of my own way and really hit the ground running, started to take action for her. And I can't say that I can do that for every parent I coach, but what I can tell them is I will have them feeling like I did, looking myself in the mirror, you looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I was everything I could be for her today. I have no regrets. And whatever happens, it happens. It's really for us as parents to know we fulfilled the duty that we promised when we had these children, which was the best versions of ourselves to live, to raise these children. I've helped now hundreds of mothers, coach them one-on-one to do the same things I did, to help them to be strong, to help them to craft plans where we're seeing constant progress. This is what I want to do. I want to give you the chance that Juliana's had. I want to give you every opportunity to give your child that kind of thing.
I always love that video where it's just getting to tell more and more about what it means to have a child with autism, as well as how they grow, right? And being able to see who they become at that point in time. For my mother, as well, as I grew up with autism, she didn't know where I was going to go, and I'll go into more details as we get there. But more specifically, right now, it's what matters is us understanding, why are we here today? What is the purpose of that, right? For some of you, it's to start your communication with your child. For others, it's to reach a level of independence as much as possible, right? Whether that's going to be living on their own, or being able to take care of their own abilities, or being able to feed themselves. For some, it's also just trying to make friends, being able to socialize, being able to provide that kind of support to them when they need it the most, right? And it takes time, and it takes your time to be able to complete that kind of thing. But more specifically, we just want the communication to click. We want to stop the worrying. We want to have reassurance that our child is going to be okay. And it's one reason why I do what I do here, right? I am in Houston, Texas, and my job in the world, right, is to provide support to individuals with autism, to provide support to parents that are looking to really see the child be as successful as possible, right? My goal tonight is to make sure that you stop feeling like every bad thing in the world is going to happen to them, that there isn't this idea of victimization, that there isn't this idea that they aren't capable of doing amazing things, right? It's understanding everything your child is able to do, maybe one activity at a time, right? Finally, for you as well, you're just as significant as your child, where you focus on stop feeling like you can't live your life, right? Being able to go out again, being able to go to the movies, to restaurants, or other areas like that. It is through your own efforts and your own work by being a part of this program that you can certainly gain that again. So there's big three things that a lot of moms or fathers or guardians, whoever it may be, really are going to focus on. And that would be potty training, problem behavior reaching zero, and problem behavior meaning aggression, hitting, kicking, biting, all of these things, and communication skills, getting your child to be able to speak. These three areas are areas that are typically things that we need in order to reach a level of independence that we did not have before. So as I mentioned, I am diagnosed with autism. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, and currently live in Houston, Texas, where I own the only autistic ABA company in Houston, where I am trying to guide as many children and adults as I can to reach a level of self-advocacy and independence that they can achieve. So with that being said, I'll do a video that explains this further.
Okay, so I want to know all about you. So I want you to tell us what you were like, how old are you, where you're from, tell us like about you as a baby, like what your parents told you, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I am 28 years old. I am a board certified behavior analyst, but I was also diagnosed at a young age, at the age of 3. It's funny. So one thing my parents always told me was that the doctors at the time of the diagnosis told them that I might as well learn sign language because I'm never going to learn how to speak. And now I host a podcast. So it's very ironic in that situation. And growing up, things were very difficult behavior wise and social wise. I still suffer from some things today. It's just in a more positive light, and I have more self-regulation than I did before. I jokingly say, if you ask me, I was a perfect child. My parents probably don't think so. So with my mother and my family, we grew up very poor. We didn't have a lot of support or a lot of like ABA therapy. It was not something we took part in because we could not afford it. And so my mother went to libraries to find new things about autism or different kinds of interventions. At the time, this was in the 90s. It was still, as looking back now on like the history of ABA and all the stuff I know about autism now, it was very difficult to find information back in the 90s, or at least more diagnosis than what is currently present. I mean, if you look today, the CDC says that 1 in 44 kids are diagnosed with autism. That was not the case in the 90s. And there wasn't any Facebook, any kind of social media. And so I grew up very alone. I did not have the social aspects I did now. I didn't know anyone else with autism. It was just me, my diagnosis, my family, and people I met through middle school, elementary, and high school. A lot of it, as I spoken to you about, was a lot of masking. I was like, okay, let me fit in. It was all about fitting in, right? And not being able to be someone different. Because if you had a diagnosis like me, or if you were different, everyone just looked at that. Okay, that was a way of like really getting at somebody. I was in the life skills class. I was nonverbal for some time. With my family. And I still vaguely remember this as well. I didn't really speak a whole lot. I would say sounds for words. So I would say like bzz, bzz, for like a bee or a bug, or I would say choo choo. And this is at 4 or 5 years old. And, typically kids speak at that time. And so that was my form of communication, and through speech therapy, through interventions my family made, and, a couple bumps on the head. As my mom says, during that time, I was able to learn a little bit more. But I really chalk up a lot of who I am today to my family, to the friends that supported me, and my very loving fiance who is still deals with everything I do now. And I have positives. I have cute quirks, as they would say, like hand clapping is cute for her because she's like, oh, that's how I know you got a good Christmas gift, or that's how I know I got you a good gift, things like that. But there's still some things I still struggle with. If things get really difficult, if there's social changes, or if there's changes in my schedule, I try to be as flexible as possible. But sometimes I had self-injurious behavior growing up, and I still do at times. It's still more self-regulated. But if I didn't learn something fast, I would hit myself with a textbook, or I'd hit myself with something just to feel better about things. And that's the part of my autism that I don't speak a lot about, but I wanted to try and be more open and more transparent, that I still have those difficulties. But thankfully, because of the support system I've been given, it's easier to cope with, because I have others to look at for social involvement and social cues.
So looking back at your parents, because this is a lot of what my program focuses on, is that how what parents believe about the diagnosis can make or break the outcome that the child could potentially have. I know that's what I felt. I felt the shift in me when my thoughts changed about my daughter's future. So looking back on your parents, we had your mom, who was very gung-ho, ready to do anything she needed to support you, and your dad was kind of like struggling with it. How did they kind of come together to, I guess, bridge the gap, so to speak, to get you what you needed?
I think it was finally just them realizing that, or at least my father realizing that there's something that wasn't going to be fixed. Why is he not talking? Why is he not relating to others? Why is he not interacting with kids at that time? And I mean, I guess it would really probably hit him when I got into the life skills program, and it was finally like, he needs some help. And so I remember I would be more in the life skills where I was with these kids, and I have pictures in the yearbook where I was with, it would say life skills, or I would be with other, like my best friend was in a wheelchair, and they also had like more severe autism at that time. And so I would be there, and finally my father came around, and it was more of just getting us to relate more. We didn't really get along as well. Looking back, I don't think it was like, oh, we didn't like each other. It was more just like a misunderstanding of what each other were looking for. And I relate some of it to just a lack of understanding overall. Like my father didn't graduate from high school. I think from what I remember, he dropped out in 7th grade. Wasn't big in education, very brilliant, very intelligent person, just did not do well in the school system. And so it was just a lack of knowledge that really pushed it. Thankfully, like I said, this support systems do make and break. And I mean, that's something that's really great about your program, is that and the guests that I speak to on my podcast, that it really changes the outcome depending on if parents are involved, if friends are involved. If you have some kind of person to relate to, that can support you. I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for people pushing me to do what I've done now.
So let's talk about some general. I always say there's 3 foundational skills every child on the spectrum needs to progress. Actually, it's like almost 3.5. But number 1 was potty training. Number 2 is to have some form of communication, and number 3 is kind of like no problem behavior, or minimal problem behavior, and or can sit and attend. When would you say you had gotten those 3 foundational skills?
I would say that I was very fortunate because that spectrum, right? It's such a wide spectrum. So I'm obviously on the very far end of that. But the communication didn't come until 5 or 6. I wasn't fully at a point where I was very functionally with communication until probably 4th or 5th grade. So that would be like 9 years old, 10 years old.
Wow.
I didn't test out of speech therapy until that time. I mean, I still have some minor issues, but nothing that really like gets in my way of communication. With potty training, like you said, I think that was a bit later as well. Probably around 4 years old, and the typical is like 2. And what I tell my parents now, putting my BCBA hat on, is that the earlier you do it, the better, right? Because at some point a child realizes it's so much more convenient to just go on yourself than having to go to the bathroom. And so that, I mean, that's the same concept with that is thankfully, even though I was able to get out of it. But I mean, some parents aren't that lucky. Some parents are still having to deal with that. I have on my caseload currently, I have a 9-year-old that is still potty trained, or a 10-year-old is still potty trained. You don't imagine like the amount of work that a family puts into it, like when you're growing up, and then you get older and you're like, what were you doing? Why were you doing this? And I'm sure all of the parents on right now, like you can talk about that, and it's just like, you talk about your kids and you talk about, this didn't work. How do I fix it? Or what do I do next? Okay, this strategy didn't work. What's the next step?
As a mother that pushes her child a lot and really puts a lot of effort in, and for all the moms in here, I am telling them to do the things that I did. I'm trying not to be the emotional host, but I can't help to think that I hope that one day she does understand that I was trying to hurt her. I'm trying to help her. And this gives all of us moms, because we talk about this a lot, like we talk about using iPads for reinforcements, and a lot of parents are against taking it away because they feel so bad. And there's just something so good to be hearing this as a mother, that you realize what they sacrifice to help you be stronger, Not a dry eye in the house, I'm sure, because we're all in the same house. So I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things I did want to think about here is like, when do you feel like, what do you think the work that the mom and dad and your sister did in home was the major catalyst for all the progress you had? Or do you think it was these schools they were putting you in? What do you think was made the biggest movement for you progress wise?
Parents. It was my parents. It was the parents, and it was my parents, because sure, the school was helping, but it was also still a public school. I didn't go to a private school. I didn't go to a charter school. Everything that I am, I know it's because of the parents. I mean, it's because of you guys, everyone on this call. Like, your kids will love you forever, and it's everything that you guys are doing for them. Every intervention, everything that you're like, oh, this isn't working, but at least you tried it, and at least you gave it a shot. There's some parents that may not do that, and I mean, just being on this call today, it's such an honor and a blessing to talk to each of you. You're what's making a difference.
And it's true, right? Each and every one of you guys is making a difference for your child. Each and every one of you is spending your evening, your morning, your afternoon, whatever it may be, for your child to learn more about autism at that point, right? And let me go ahead and change my slide. I always do this every time. There we go. So why join Champions for Our Children, right? Is understanding that you will get a personalized strategy for exactly where you're at, right? As a behavior analyst, I am ethically bound to do that for you. There are other behavior analysts in this group, but I'm ethically bound to do so, where everything is individualized. And you'll see when we do these questions at the end of this presentation that it's not based on, oh, well, this person did it, so it's going to work for you too. It's based on the story that you tell me about your child, so I can help you out further based on your needs, right? We currently have a 100% success rate for potty training. No one that comes here that asks for potty training help leaves here without getting potty trained. And that's very significant, right? Because that gives you a sense of independence that you didn't have before. You're able to reconnect you with your child and understand that communication is multiple different forms of doing that, where we go from using picture cards or sign language, pushing and pulling. Behavior in of itself is a form of communication. It allows you to understand the wants and needs of your child, and allows you to determine what is wrong with them, what is not wrong with them, things of that nature, right? It's getting to this root level of why these problem behaviors, speaking of which, are occurring, right? Understanding that a child isn't just doing it randomly, or a child just isn't doing things because they want to do it, right? They have found that communication through behavior is the only way that they can get any kind of response. And so that's why they try to create these kind of things, right? And we're here to help allow you to teach your child different ways to get them to communicate their wants and needs more appropriately, right? It's getting your life back on track rather than moving toward removing all of your furniture, not being able to go out to eat, not being able to go to the movies. It's working toward these strategies that can try and get you back there, right? And understanding that the true failure is quitting. If you just look at your child and say, you know what, that's it. Nothing's going to be being able to help this child. It doesn't exist. So I'm just going to have to suck it up and I'm going to have to deal with it, right? That kind of mentality is what we're trying to avoid here. We're trying to help out and have each of you understand that there is something that can be done, that there is something that can change how your child reacts to you and how your child reacts to the different kinds of areas that they struggle with, right? It's having to not worry about autism every minute. Where are we going to sit? Where are we going to go? Is there a place for me to screen him? I can't go to Walmart for very long, so I have to make this really fast for 5 minutes. There are better ways to go about this kind of thing, and that's what we're here for, right? So it's for you to get your independence back, being able to live through different kinds of experiences and not have to turn things down just for the sake of your child having this diagnosis. So what we have here is a 3-month group coaching program with guaranteed results. What you get is going to be this potty training, it's going to be communication, and it's going to be able to stop problem behaviors. You'll see again in this question and answer where we're able to discuss with you any kind of problem behavior that you are presenting to us. We're able to talk through it with you and provide that kind of support. But in addition, we'll go through social skills. I had a 7-year-old come to me that said, and I asked him and he was verbal, and I said, well, what is it that you would like to learn? And he said, I just don't want to be the weird kid anymore, right? And it's heartbreaking to hear, but that happens more often than not, that these children are ostracized from their peers and are not able to be friends with them. We want to make sure that they are able to get friends, and we work through that with social skills. There are issues with diet. We can cover that as well through picky eater protocols, right? But the biggest change of all comes when we provide a different mindset of how we view our problems, right? So in addition to working with behavior analysts, you would also be able to work with mindset coaches that change exactly how you're feeling and allow you to look at scenarios differently to better support your child. We're able to stop eloping. One of my biggest fears, and what I work with a lot of parents on, is the idea that this child is going to run off and just run out into the street without even thinking a second thought. And that's terrifying to think about, and that's scary. But we work through why a child starts to elope, this running away into the street, and try and provide different interventions that can better support you and your family. We're building this out each month, right? When I started 2 years ago with Michelle, it was her, a just behavior analyst, and the mindset coaches. Since then, she's grown this program to have nutritionists, dietitians, occupational therapists, speech therapists, more mindset coaches, more behavior analysts, and it's continually growing every single time. So you get more and more the longer you do this, right? There's a lifetime access to our study vault. Any kind of past presentations, any kind of past question and answers, you would be able to experience that again. And we call this the Harvard of Autism, where we're able to provide as much support with you as possible. So not only do you get this lifetime guarantee, this lifetime access to the self-study vault, but you also get 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls from the experts, people like myself, people that are speech therapists, that are occupational therapists. So you have one of these calls being with Michelle herself, the autism mom, the life coach, being able to come and personalize and differentiate a plan that can better support your family. You have us, the BCBAs, myself,
Melissa, and Stacy, all BCBAs, all here to better support you, right? We also have our mindset coaches, Risa, and we also have Holly. They are here to specifically work with you on how you are feeling. It is scary to know that your child is diagnosed with autism, to know that their life may drastically change than what you had believed that they would be able to. What we are all here to do is to provide you with that level of support that you need to see them carry out all of their goals, all of their abilities be accomplished through the support of you. We also have monthly specialist calls as well. Like I mentioned, we have a registered dietitian who is also an autism mom. We have a speech language pathologist who I worked with as one of the individuals that took this class. She's also an autism mom. And I was able to work through that with her. And now there may not be a picture of it, but we do have occupational therapy that is also offered as well to really try and grow everything we can possibly do for each of you. Every single time your questions are answered, we sit here, we with you for an hour, sometimes hour and a half, hour 15, 2 hours. Doesn't really matter to us. We want to be here for you and get you to have your questions answered. When you get the diagnosis, you're in shock. You don't know exactly what's happening. But after the fact, there's all these things that you research, all of these things that you see online, all of these questions you have. That's where we come in. We want to make sure that we can answer each of these. So we have this 3-month group coaching program where we're able to give guaranteed results. So in addition to these areas that I just mentioned, you can either email Michelle directly and join this family where we're able to support you. But we also have a private Facebook community where you're able to speak to one another and being able to provide support to one another. And we're also able to provide support to you where we can message on the Facebook group any questions that you may have. And we're continually growing this as well. Again, this is also where we can post our monthly calls. So in case you do miss one, you can go back and view it. We have, in addition to all of this, an action back guarantee. If after 90 days, you don't get the results you came for, or you can stay in the program, or you can get your money back until you do. So for instance, if you have trouble with potty training and it just doesn't come to you in 90 days, or it doesn't get resolved in 90 days, no harm done. Stay or find something that fits you better. That's okay too, right? For us, it's not about how long can we keep a person here, right? It's, are you finding this to be a benefit? Are you finding joy in the progress that your child is presenting? And again, that's all we really want to do, is just make sure that you feel as supported as possible. In addition to coming today, if you sign up tonight by midnight, we have a private session that you can get with me. You can either get it with myself or Michelle. This private session, again, is like having your own BCBA. You can ask me a million questions during this session. It does not matter to me. And we're able to support you through it. Any kind of problem you've seen, I've probably seen it. I've done this for quite some time. And for me, it's not just about answering these questions, right? It's about putting that autistic spin where I'm able to understand children with autism quite a bit and be able to better support you in that kind of need. There's a second bonus. So on top of signing up tonight by midnight, Jen is posting that link in the chat right now for each of you. You would change that 3-month group coaching program into a 5-month group coaching program. 2 extra months, 70 calls to change your life, where you can ask me, Stacy, any of us, or any of the other professionals, any question you like about autism, about my own life. I answer that quite regularly as well, about my own growth with my autism, about my own growth with social skills, about getting married, about going on my honeymoon, about taking a trip to Egypt. I just went to Egypt last month. Being able to do things that initially were scary, these new environments, new stimuli, new settings that could potentially be overwhelming, but being able to use the tricks of the trade that I have found through this program that has better supported my own growth in my life. So there's also a bonus in addition. We have plenty of bonuses where you get a third bonus of getting $500 off this program if you sign up again by tonight. So for tonight only, you can book a consultation call. Jen is posting that, as I mentioned, into the chat currently. All of these bonuses will go away by midnight. So if you decide tomorrow, hey, I heard what Armando said and I really want to do it, I'm going to go ahead and sign up. That's great. We would love to have you, but we wouldn't be able to offer those kind of bonuses that we just mentioned today. So if you book by midnight tonight, again, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about our program. Love to do that. Then you would be able to get all of those bonuses discussed and a private session with me. There's a word on the unicorn syndrome here, right? Is that Juliana, Michelle's daughter, is different. I, Armando, am different than your child, right? Your child has severe autism. It doesn't look like Armando has severe autism, right? It's this idea that this works for other kids, but it won't work for mine. These little areas here that we talk about, right? Those are all different reasons to avoid something without trying it. But I can tell you that behavioral science, as I know it, as I practice it, it is meant for every child, every adult, every baby, animal, addiction, fitness, whatever it is. Behavioral science is in your world, whether you know it or not. And what we are trying to practice for your child is to have them understand appropriate ways of communicating their wants and needs, right? There's nothing out there that will change the trajectory of my child. And if you feel that way, I get it, right? It's hard. But what we're here to do is be that support system, be that tribe for you that you can turn to when you have concerns, when you have this idea on what your child is able to do. It is a self-preservation state of seeing your child needing your support. And I get it, right? If you don't change anything, nothing different can happen and your child will be okay. Trying something new may do something to your child. And you don't know, positive or negative, right? But what I'm here to tell you today is I myself, as again, an autistic individual, can say that this is beneficial. Behavioral science, applied behavior analysis, as I practice it, is able to support many children. And that's all I really want to do here tonight is to help you, right? So for joining me tonight, again, all of these bonuses are going to end. So please book this consultation call. It's Jen is posting it in the chat here. She's letting you know each and every time what is going on. But again, I'm just one individual. I work for this company. These are all parents that have taken this program before.
First one I wanted to ask is, why did you decide to work with me?
I got to a point where I was really overwhelmed, and I knew there was more I could do for Joseph, and I knew there was more room for him to learn.
We had just moved to our new location when we started working together, and you popped up and came into my life at the right time, because it really, even though I've moved so many times as a military spouse, I had never moved with a special needs child.
I would say our biggest struggles were I just didn't feel like we had exposure to the services that I was wanting for him. We didn't have any local ABA. He would talk with us, but not really with other people.
And I've been looking for something like this. You know, my son's 5 since he was diagnosed just before he turned 3. And you kind of feel like you're left out on your own in the cold.
So what did you enjoy most about working with me?
I cannot just pick one thing. From the start till now, I love everything. Your motivation, how you break things down, how you make it seem easy. And not just seem easy, but you give the tools and the steps of making it easy, breaking it down.
Well, you helped me pinpoint what my anxiety were, the steps I needed to take, and made it less abstract than some other people have made it for me.
I mean, it was everything from, when you talk to your insurance, you ask them this, speak to this type of person, and it just started taking that load off where I could see the accomplishments and I could see through the fog. And
So I kind of just wanted to ask you, if someone just found out that their child was diagnosed with autism, how important is it for them to have someone supporting them through this process? For example, I'm a parent of a child who's nonverbal, who's now in an integrated 2nd grade class with neurotypical children. I've had experience to advise, so I can help advise somebody through this, of what options are available for their child, assisting them in finding the right treatment. Is that something that you agree with?
Oh, absolutely. Because I just talked to Mom the other day. She had her 2-year-old had just been diagnosed, and she didn't know where to start. Yeah, you can't do it all yourself. Yeah, the mom will get completely stressed out. That does not work.
All right, so now, I guess, where are you now? You and your child, now that you've joined the program.
so we were not potty trained, we were not talking much, we were not, he wasn't able, if I told him to go get something, do any of those things. And now he will, he's totally potty trained. We go everywhere, just in our undies. We don't have to worry about that. He is speaking way more. He's gained so much independence, his ability to do things. And I can tell him, Easton, go into your room and get your shoes or get your socks, and just seeing that he understands what I'm saying and he knows and he goes, does it, so happy with himself.
When I called you at first, I was really overwhelmed. But now, probably, I would say I never get overwhelmed, but I'm able to retrace.
You helped me formulate the confidence in myself to realize I'm ready and to really go for it. And I would not have thought he'd do it. And he's now potty trained, doing it on his own, taking himself. And it went so much better than I ever could have imagined.
Would you recommend our program to any moms or dads that are going through this right now?
Absolutely. Hands down, of everything we've done, this has been the best thing. This was the most support, and all the way around.
Any day, I will recommend you. I will recommend you. Whoever has a child on the spectrum.
Yes, I don't want to stop.
Well, we're friends for life. Don't you worry. Sisters for life.
I mean, if you have a chance to do this, I definitely recommend it. It has made all the difference.
I will recommend Michelle because she will walk you through. And it's not just about your kids, it's about you too.
Just having so much support in the different areas. It wasn't one little thing, it was like a full spectrum of support.
And you're still helping me work through, how I can view everything better, and how I can improve, and how I can improve myself so that I can improve outcomes for my kiddos.
Whoever is out there that's confused, thinking there's no help, and they are all by themselves, no, you're not all by yourself. Get with Michelle.
Absolutely, hands down, I would recommend this a million times over.
I've worked with a lot of those parents, and it's always a joy to see them feel as successful as they are, right? And to see Temple Grandin also to talk to Michelle like that. Temple Grandin, again, for anyone that may know, is a very popular autism advocate. She actually got her own HBO show that talks about her life. So this is a question and answer time here. So really, whatever questions that you may have for me, I am very excited to talk to you about. So Jen, I'll be going through those questions as well. I know that we have some on here. So again, she'll be first bringing up any kind of link that you may be interested in as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free, raise your hand, chat your question, put it in the Q&A. I'll be sure to try and answer as many of them as I can. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. So Takashi Girl says, I would love some ideas for things to do with my nonverbal 3-year-old granddaughter. So with that, right, I think that's a really good question to start off things with. It's the idea also that you're able to give her opportunities to want to learn how to speak, right? Being able to maybe block her path and say like, hey, you could tell me go for sign language, or to have her start using her words by giving her certain places to say things, to be able to do all of these things in order to better support it, right? Is the idea that the average child is able to talk about 400 times a day to provide their wants and needs, right? And then to be able to move it into, okay, now that we give you opportunities, now we're having this expectation that you are able to use some kind of word, some kind of ability to speak to complete this kind of activity. So I hope that really helps. I would really recommend trying to give her just more and more opportunities to respond to you in that way. So a Zoom user says, need help with potty training. That is a very vague question or statement, but if the Zoom user would like to have me answer that further, I'm happy to answer it. Just raise your hand and I can call on you. But very, very cool. All right, so an anonymous, Cynthia, was that you? Yes, how can I help you? Let me go ahead and do that. Yes, how can I help you, Cynthia?
Hear you guys talking about these things, and I heard you say about how expensive things were with you coming up. Well, those things haven't really changed today. There are a lot of things that my grandson gets that are covered by insurance, but to be able to get this type of help, if you guys aren't any type of insurance accepting or any type of anything like that, I don't know how like a single parent could possibly afford to get these things for their child.
Sure.
My daughter's a single parent. My grandson is in an ABA program. He receives speech and occupational therapy, and we do see strides. But the things you guys are talking about seem to be so great and seems to help so much. I don't understand or see how this is something that we could possibly afford.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a good point there, right? So Jen, if you post that link in there as well, not only is it a link to sign up, it's also a link to answer those kind of questions. So depending on different cases and things like that, I know Jen and the rest of the staff work through different kinds of payment plans. So that is a possibility there for sure. But I'm not on that side of things. I'm on the clinical side and answering ABA type questions, BCBA type questions. Jen did post the link, and Jen is going to keep posting that and have that free consultation. So you can, by all means, book that free consultation there and then be able to discuss that further. I'm more so wanting to answer those ABA type questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. Very, very cool. Were you the one that asked about toilet training?
No.
Okay.
No, because actually we've started that and he seems to be kind of getting it. But it's
awesome.
It's a thing now where like we're letting them walk around with no pamper on.
Okay.
Because with boys, it's hard for them to get to learn, even boys who aren't on the spectrum to get to learn. So it's even harder for him. So what we're doing is we're like I said, let him walk around with no pamper on, and we're just trying to catch it. So we're running in the bathroom. He's holding it. We're holding a little bit. He's holding a little bit, and he's doing some. But like I said, it's a thing where we have to catch it. It's not something where
when you say catch it, do you mean literally catch it, or is he?
Yes, I mean literally catch it and run him to the bathroom.
And this is what the ABA is helping you with?
They said that they will help us with it, but he's in the ABA program. I don't know how much of it that they're doing to see if right now it's been beneficial at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna do you one better because that's awful if they're telling you to do that for now. Sorry, and I'm very transparent, and my role here is more the clinical side of things. So if they're telling you that that is the best that you can possibly do at this moment, that's terrible. And you may want to look elsewhere for an ABA facility. But regarding the potty training aspect, right, what you want to do initially is determine how often is he having accidents throughout the day, right? And it's okay if he's in not so much to pamper, but more of a pull-up for the moment, right? And then determine for yourself how many times is an accident versus success. It's okay if it's like 5-7 accidents and 0 successes at first, okay? But then what you can move into next is setting up some kind of timer facility to have him better understand how to go to the bathroom successfully, okay? So an example of this would be take him to the bathroom every 15 minutes. So my first question is, does he have toilet ready?
We've been doing that.
Okay, great.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, because I'm heated now because I'm mad that they're not helping you with that. So regarding,
they said they will help, but we don't know what type of help.
Well, they should have helped already. If you feel, again, it's not on you, but if somebody is telling you, "Hey, we'll help you eventually," and you're telling them that you're literally having to catch urine in this, then that's not good enough for me, and it should certainly not be good enough for you. So when it gets to that point, right? If number one, does he have toilet readiness? Can he sit on the toilet without crying?
For maybe 30 seconds.
Okay, so he's not toilet ready, and that's okay. So what we initially need to do in that kind of situation, right, is you can put him back in the diaper or the pull-up. I prefer pull-up, honestly, than diaper. I don't really like diapers in that sense because he needs to learn how to do it. And then get him to understand if you can sit on the toilet for X number of minutes or seconds, right, wherever you need to start off.
30
Mhm.
seconds, 45, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is. That's great. Set a visual timer for him where he can
Mhm.
observe the timer and know when it goes off. He has no idea what time is, but he does know that when he hears a beep, that means he gets to get off the toilet, right?
Mhm.
And if he can sit on the toilet, let's say he does 30 seconds, right? For the sake of him understanding, make it 35 seconds. If he can sit on the toilet for 35 seconds, he gets
Mhm.
iPad. He never gets iPad unless he does 35 seconds with you without any kind of crying behavior.
Mhm.
And as
Mhm.
soon as he does the 35 seconds, you heavily praise him and you say, really good job, right?
Right.
So then the next step here, go on.
Mhm. But he's also 3, so I don't know
3
if
is the time that he needs to get potty trained. But if you go
okay.
any further than that and you're still you should not be catching urine. I just point, no matter what age, you shouldn't be
Yes.
catching urine. But with that, right, even if he's 3 years old, the toilet readiness is fine then for where you're at, right? But you can keep him in the
Right.
pull-up, get him toilet ready, where you get him one of those like attachments that make it smaller for him, not the fake
Right.
toilet. The real toilet
Right.
do
Well,
that.
that's what he has. He has the kind where it has the step where you step up to the
Great, that's
toilet.
fine.
So
That's good.
he's had fun standing on the step, and like
Great.
so what he's doing, he tears the toilet paper off, throws it in
Yep.
the toilet, and flushes
Yep.
it.
Yep. Remove that toilet paper from being in his area so he has no distraction. Show him the
Okay.
visual timer. If he can do 35 seconds, he gets iPad. He does not get
Mhm.
that iPad anytime
Mhm.
throughout the rest of the day unless he
Mhm.
can sit for 35 seconds on that toilet. Because what
Okay.
that does, it deprives him of that feeling and it makes him want that iPad so much more, making him
Mhm.
more motivated to sit on the toilet for you, right? He's
Okay.
still going to
Mhm.
have accidents during this time. At this point in time, you're not at a point where you can do the toilet training because he
Right.
is not toilet ready, right?
Right.
But when you get to, I don't know, a minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes of just sitting on the toilet with a visual
Mhm.
timer showing, that's
Right.
when we can get into the toilet readiness. So
Right.
this,
But do you think at this age that he can even like the timer is going to be beneficial? Like, how will
yes.
he know that that's
Well, and that's exactly the point here, right? Is that so you may not have been using timers in his life before, right? But
yeah.
everything and what we practice here in ABA and what we practice here in this program is to understand that there is an action that causes another action that causes another action, right?
Okay.
If I
Yeah.
was, and the example of this is like Pavlov's dog, for instance. You
Mhm.
hear a ringing bell and you start mouth watering at that point because
Mhm.
you know it's
Mhm.
coming, right? So
Right.
same concept here. If he hears a beep with the timer going off, right? It's
Uh-huh.
not that he understands time. He understands every time he hears that beep, he gets iPad. And that is what you're
Okay.
trying to get him to understand at 3 years old. Not the
Right.
fact you're sitting here on the toilet. You're getting him to understand you're going to get the iPad only when this thing beeps. And over time, his conscious understands, oh, I only see this timer when I'm sitting on this toilet. I only get the iPad when I'm sitting on the toilet and the timer beeps. Make sense?
Okay. Mhm. It does.
You have to break it down into black and white scenarios, especially that young. It's not
Yeah.
about explaining yourself. It's about getting him to understand the black and white actions like a beeping timer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what company you're at. Quite honestly, I don't really want to know.
I was going to
But
tell you.
yeah, but if they're telling you that, well, for now, if you could just keep holding his urine in your hand, that would be great. That's unacceptable, and I
Mhm.
would report them if I knew.
Mhm.
So I don't want to get into all of that nonsense. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a ridiculous professional opinion, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So, and again, I only know you for 5 minutes. I just get really heated about this kind of thing because
Well, I mean,
ethics
like
is
I
a really
said, they
big.
said they would help, but we have to start it. If we start it and we see like some success, then they'll continue. But
Why
if
is it your job when you're paying for this? I imagine you're paying for this, right?
yeah, well, through the insurance.
Well, your insurance, but you pay for your insurance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're paying for this. So
Yeah.
why is it your job to do that? You're hiring them to do that. You're not the professional here. They are.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I don't even
I
know
got
you,
you.
but like this
No,
stuff
I
makes
thank you for that.
yeah, yeah, like this stuff makes me mad. And and I hope you do sign up. And I understand you said you're a single
Mm,
parent and all that,
mm,
but like this is what we do. This is what I
mm.
do for a living. Is
Right.
is talk with parents, and I understand like financial things are hard. Jen's posting this link. There's payment plans, right? But
Yeah.
for me in general, as a BCBA, whether or not this happens or not, no one should be taking advantage of you like that. And unfortunately, this is a money-making business where there's a lot of money that could be made in this, and some
Yeah.
people get into it for the wrong reasons, and that makes me really upset. So
Okay.
it is not your job to do any of this, right? You're paying. It's like telling the doctor. It's like a doctor telling you, "Oh, you can diagnose yourself. I'll just write whatever prescription you say." Like that's not appropriate.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry. Again, I
No,
hope.
no, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Glad I could help. Sorry, Cynthia, but best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. So as we roll it back a little bit for everyone, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we'll keep going. So the anonymous attendee says, what do you recommend for parents of autistic children to help them best succeed in school, especially when the school does not practice IEP teachings like they're supposed to? Oh, I'm already heated again. You guys are firing me up, I swear. Also, I've read it's kind of common for eating disorders to arise. I'm getting worried about my 8-year-old who sometimes goes multiple days without eating. You should. That's not good. So regarding the first part of this, anonymous attendee, and you don't need to put on your mic. It's okay. You're anonymous for a reason. Is that if you are telling me that your child has an IEP and the child is not getting IEP services, you need to consult a lawyer and get that going immediately, or at the very least, get an advocate. That is a federally legal binding concept that is backed by law. And if they are not giving you your IEP services or accommodations, that is now a lawyer's field, and you can take them to court, or at the very least, get them to get with it, right? So just keep that in mind. The other half of this, now this is my realm, the 8-year-old with the eating disorder. Regarding that, right? I've had some children that have no diet really. When I say no diet, I mean no protein, fat, carb, right? So an example, a 7-year-old that I worked with, he was only eating veggie chips and a multivitamin drink. So the idea with the 8-year-old, right, is understanding where are they at with this food, right? They can be picky eaters, that's fine. But if he's not eating, he's not eating, right? Find something bare minimum. And it sounds like this is a very concerning thing, and he's probably just on a multivitamin drink. Again, I don't really know. But if he is at that point, that's fine. You may want to consult with a swallow therapist, make sure that he can swallow appropriately. And then you may want to then consult with a speech therapist to focus on chewing, occupational therapist focus on chewing. The behavioral side of things is if you put a chicken nugget, and you could just do like a dime-sized piece of a chicken nugget on a plate, will he pick it up and eat it? And you could do the same concept that I just told Cynthia about potty training, where it's first take a bite, first swallow, and then you get iPad for, I don't know, a minute or 2 minutes, whatever it is. And then they start understanding, again, that I only get iPad, I only see iPad if I started to eat in this kind of realm, right? And if he's not going to eat, again, that's not an issue. Focus on what he can do so he can start to understand this concept of a first then. So can he just look at the food? Great. Can he then touch the food? Can he then put it near his mouth? Can he have his tongue touch it? Can he put it in his mouth? Can he swallow it? So you see these little steps go and go here until he's able to finally swallow. And then if he is able to swallow, that's great. Already made a lot of progress. Now we move into a bigger piece and an even bigger piece and a bigger piece. And you see where I'm going here. Once you get this food item done, then you move into the next step here and give him another food, repeat that process, or, speed through it a little bit because you figured out what you're doing in the first place. So anonymous, I hope that really helps you. What would you say is one of the main things to do or consider for an 8-year-old who is not potty trained? Again, unfortunately, these things are like pretty vague, right? And anonymous, I don't want to like call you out because again, you're anonymous for a reason. But it's also for potty training is vague what you're asking me. I say the same thing I told Cynthia in the sense of focusing on are they toilet ready, right? And Jen's posting, I'm supposed to be answering this, and I get really heated. I'm sorry, Jen. Please book a call. If you like my passion, if you like this intensity of like making sure that you're getting exactly what you need, I do this all of the time. So please book a call. I'd love to consult with you. I'd love to see you in my masterclass meetings.
It's literally question and answers like this, where like, again, it's your answering of any questions you have. So I would just focus on toilet readiness, Anonymous. I'm sorry, it's not super great, but it's also, I can't just give you a direct answer when things are a little vague. If you like to respond, again, you're more than welcome to. Anonymous, again, these could all be the same person, could be different, whatever works. What does ABA involve for behavior management? ABA is the idea that we can change socially inappropriate behavior, like biting, hitting, kicking, and change it toward being able to say, I want a break, all done, I want more, things like that, and getting them to understand what is appropriate and what allows them to do it, right? And so what we do is that we focus on what comes before and after behavior, figure that out, figure out why a person does what they do, and then we change it in that way. That's, again, vague question, vague answer, I know, but I'm more than happy to go into more detail, but it really just depends on everything. So like ABA is a very complex science. It is a very complex psychological idea, but it shows real world results. It's why there's medical journals, psychological journals that focus on evidence-based strategies like this. And what we offer here is evidence-based strategies where we're not looking at, oh, this works for my brother, sister's cousin, you should do it too. This is from real medical and psychological journals. So again, anything that you guys ask for, I'm going to focus on those kind of material. Again, outside of this, I do this for fun. I don't do this for a living in this area, right? With Michelle, I love working with Michelle. I think it's phenomenal. I don't think it's recorded, or maybe it is, Jen. I have no idea. I think it is. Oh, it is recording. So Jen will post it. But yeah, so I don't do this for a living, if you will. I have my own business where I work with kids directly through ABA therapy, called Autism International Consulting. I'll write it down for you guys if you want to follow us on Instagram. But it's the idea that, kids' behavior can change. It doesn't matter where you are, where you're from. Behavior in anybody can change, right? It's just a matter of how you work with it. So hope that helps. I think that this is the same Anonymous, because I keep scrolling and I don't see more people. It just happens to be more Anonymous. So good. You got a lot of questions. I love it. Our issue is trying to get my grandson to be calm and sit down so he can learn. He likes to run around in class and hit the other kids. The teacher said he can't learn like that. Yep, he can't learn by running and hitting other kids. That's a funny teacher. So regarding that, right, the first step is always going to be, why is a child doing what they're doing? And a lot of times from parents or other individuals, teachers even, that don't understand behavioral science will say, oh, he's just randomly running around, he's just randomly hitting people. That's never the case. Everyone everywhere does it for 4 reasons and 4 reasons only. They do it for attention, escape, it feels good, or they want something. So the first step here, right, is not necessarily to get your grandson to calm down and sit down, right, and so he can learn. It's determining, why is he running around in the class? Why is he hitting other kids? Is he getting the teacher's attention? Is he getting to be able to escape a worksheet? Is he doing it because when he does, he gets his favorite chair at the principal's office? Who knows, right? What matters is determining what happened before the running, what happened after the running, and that is going to tell you why your child is running, or at least a hypothesis of why your child is running. And if you can determine that, you can determine the next steps of how to do that. That teacher is going to need to look at that before and after to determine, because he's very well easily could be running for attention. And if she's getting mad at him and saying that he can't learn like that, she's more than likely giving him attention in some form or fashion, whether it's verbally or with eye contact. Okay, no more anonymouses, although it's okay if you are. It's just, it was funny. There was like 5 in a row. Okay, Marlimni Dela Cruz says, how can I help my 3-year-old to stop hitting and pinching me and his brother? I've tried telling him hands are for hugging, and he would hug us after hitting, but he would still hit us again within an hour. So same concept, Marlimni, is that you have to determine why your child is doing that, right? So if your child is doing that because they're doing it for attention, then the more you tell him, oh, you got to hug me, that then increases the idea
that he can hug and still hit you because you're responding to him in such a way. The example I give is that if I spoke German to any of you, and some of you may know it because it's a big diverse crowd, but if some of you didn't speak German, I spoke German and you didn't respond to me, that is communicating to me that I am not going to get attention that way. But because I'm here speaking English to you and I'm getting a lot of responses, that means that this is a way to communicate with each of you. And therefore, I have learned that this is an appropriate way to communicate. Your child is hitting you and you are responding, therefore showing him that this is an appropriate way to communicate with you. You then have to determine a better way of communicating, of having him communicate his wants and needs that don't involve hitting, right? Marlene, I'd love for you to turn your mic on so I can talk to you. This isn't just me going down the line and answering. We can have, real conversation about this too. Yeah, there's two of you. Well, it's the same person, I imagine, but you can raise your hand if you like. Where are you? There you are. Cool. Hey, does that help, Marlene?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I think he actually does it for attention because he normally doesn't want anything. Like
Okay.
we can just be sitting down watching TV and next thing you know, he just starts hitting. And sometimes when I try to put him to sleep, he would not fall asleep unless he's pinching my underarms.
Okay. Is he verbal?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And like really verbal, like can have a whole sentence conversation?
He is verbal, but his vocabulary is not functional. Like he has he'll repeat what he hears on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or stuff like that. Oh, good.
No, that's great that he can repeat. Okay, so when he hits you, you're gonna ignore it, okay? And then you're gonna look at him and say, hey, you can tell me hug, or you can tell me play with me, or you can tell me chase, something to that effect, right?
Okay.
And then when he says it back to you, immediately praise him. Because again, the punches and the hits, they're not because he's being mean, they're because that is the only way he knows to communicate with you. And so when you start teaching him that there is a better way of getting your attention by saying these things, then he will start to learn that it is inconvenient for me to hit you because she's not going to pay attention to me, but she is going to pay attention to me if I repeat these words that she keeps telling me. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Glad I could help. Okay. Gigi, I think you did. Oh, okay. You posted that. Okay. Gigi says, how can I assist my son with sensory overload when he is happy or sad? Okay. So this is for all of you guys. It's a really good question. I imagine a lot of you guys have that question as well. So look at behaviors in a different way, right? Growing up, and I'm a victim of this too. Growing up is the idea that everything we do is because we're happy, we're sad, we're mad, all of these things, right? That is all assumed and therefore not usable when working with your child for actions, even if it seems obvious. I'll give an example, right? You and your child are in your house and I'm there observing, and your child throws a vase that you love and you get really upset at him because he threw this vase. You then ask yourself afterwards, is Armando also upset about this? I'm not upset about this. And the reason being is because that vase meant nothing to me, right? And so it was inappropriate, sure, but it's not enough to make me angry because nothing happened to me, right? And that's just human nature in general like that. So what we do instead is, instead of look internally, we look externally. And we look at the reason behind the sensory overload, right? So then ask yourself again, Gigi, is this for attention, escape, or is it for tangible or sensory? And then you can determine the best route to take. So Gigi, I'm going to call on you here, and you're going to, hopefully, if you're interested, tell me why you think your child is having a sensory overload.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I noticed that if we basically tell him like, okay, we're shortening his computer time. So he loves the laptop and he loves to do like his iReady programs. And then we're like, okay, time's up. We'll give him like an hour to, have a good time. And we take that away. He has a total meltdown.
Sure.
And he starts like kind of like sometimes hitting his forehead. He gets like a sensory overload because then he'll come to me and say, I'm sad. I'm sad. And so I acknowledge his feelings, of course, because I want to let him know that I understand what he's going through. But I noticed that like he gets an overload and then he starts like doing these sounds in the corner and he's just like want to pull on the shirt and he gets overload. Or if he's extremely happy, it's like he can't like help himself. So he's like jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping. It's like it's not enough jumping in the world that would satisfy that stimuli, right? And currently, like even in school, when he's switching classes because he's in the first grade, the hallway with all the kids switching classrooms, like he gets overload. So then sometimes that makes him happy and sometimes it makes him sad. And I don't know what to do to help him with that.
Yeah, and there's a difference between sensory overload and tantrum, right? And I think sometimes when we talk about children with autism, we just call it sensory overload. I would call what you describe with the laptop a tantrum. I would call what you call the happy jumps. That would be a sense of a sensory overload kind of thing. So there's the difference there, right? A negative versus the positive of it. So the tantrum, and I'm just going to keep calling it that because that's what I personally think it is professionally, is the idea that we look at, so we look at the before. You gave him an hour of play. You took away this item. He threw a tantrum. What did you do right after the tantrum?
I sent him to his room to calm down because it's his safe space.
So you sent him to his room to calm
down.
He
loves his room.
That's fine. Okay. Oh, he loves his room. That's even good to know. So you sent him to his room after the fact that he tantrum. So do you think that he tantrum for attention, he wanted something, it felt good, or escape?
I don't think he's good with transition, so I think it's because he wants something done.
Very
in
cool.
This case.
Yeah, exactly. So I would also agree that he would want something, right? So what you do next is then teach him that there is a better way of asking for an item that he is wanting, right? He's only doing this tantrum because it has worked for him in the past, which apparently it does because you sent him to his room, which is something that he really likes. So when you send him to his room and it's something that he really likes, he learns if I want to go to my room next, all I have to do is tantrum, right? So if he's sad, that's great for him to be able to say that. And I'm sure he does feel sad. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying that his way of communicating his sadness is not appropriate for his age, right? So what we do instead is give him words that do let you know what he is wanting in the moment. So if you're going to take away an item, you gave him an hour on this toy or whatever, you can show him a timer of 5 minutes left. And you say, hey, buddy, you got 5 minutes on the timer, and then we need to go and do this XYZ thing, okay? And then when it's 3 minutes, you say, hey, you got 3 more minutes left. And then you say, okay, hey, timer's all done because it beeped. And then he's going to throw his little tantrum at first. And then you can go over there and you can tell him, hey, you can say more time. And when he says more time, you praise that. And over time, he realizes that it is exhausting to throw a tantrum, and it is better to ask for more time than it is to throw that tantrum. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're on that part. So you've got in here, and he may still throw a tantrum for a little bit, right? And during this time, but it should be less severe the more he does this. So then after the fact, because you got to move on, you can't just do playtime all the time, right? Then you give him a choice of the next activity that he wants to do. Okay. So it's not going to be, hey, do you want to, I don't know, sleep or brush your teeth, things like that. You pick one thing that he needs to do next. Maybe it's brush your teeth, okay? And then you're going to pick the thing that he hates the most out of everything. And then you're going to pick brush your teeth as a second option. So then he can choose and have the understanding that it was his choice to brush his teeth compared to you picking for him.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I like that idea. I've never thought about the timer or, bringing that into his space in terms of the tantrum. I just thought like I would just remove him from the space that he's currently in. Since like if he's like in the living room playing with us or on the laptop, just around, I'm like, okay, take away the laptop, send him to his room so he can calm down. Since that was his, calm space.
Sure.
But now I realize maybe, keeping him in the space and just say, hey, and doing that approach with the timer and let him know, okay, and even if he does have a tantrum, give him some time to wind down and then go into another activity and give him a choice. That is a good idea. Like, I've never thought about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what we do here, right? Jen's got the post, the link, the consultation. It's a free consult. Just ask about it, And like I said, I know money is a concern for a lot of people. Ask about payment plans. I'm sure Jen will work with you on that, right, Jen? She's mute right now, but I'm sure she's nodding her head. But yeah, so just
Yes.
look at that helps.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, there you go. Good job, Jen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
I literally could not do this without Jen, you guys. So give her, a round of applause on your side of things. So thanks so much. Okay, so T. Abraham says, how to introduce new foods, specifically vegetables. He seems to want to try something new, but will turn away. Okay, that's great. So he's turning away because it's escape and he's curious. Give him some kind of reinforcement for looking at it, for touching it, for putting it in his mouth, right? Whether it's iPad, his favorite toy, whatever it is, you just want to deprive him of that toy before you do it. You want to deprive him and make him understand that there is an item waiting for you, so long as he does the thing. So hope that helps. T. Abraham also says, how do I know if I am communicating effectively with my child? Sometimes I feel like he does not understand. Oh, that's really good. That's a good question. And wait, were you the person from Tobago? No, that was David Clark. He's from Trinidad. That was really cool. T. Abraham, I don't know where you're from, but I'm sure it's also somewhere really cool. So yes, so with the communication aspect, right? You can see if he understands you by providing visuals, by providing listening skills, where you're telling him, hey, go to the bathroom and see if he understands how to do that, right? If he's not going to the bathroom, it's not that he doesn't want to, it's because he may not understand what you're telling him to do, right? In addition to that, you move into, okay, maybe I need to do choices. What do you want to eat? Do you want this or this? And getting him to choose from that level and getting him to understand that, right? It's really for you guys as well. It's just putting up the numbers and determining what is the best way of communicating with my child, whether that's picture cards, sign language, anything like that could be very useful as well. So hope that helps. I think Cynthia Lund, did I answer your question? I know Cynthia was the first person I spoke to, but I don't think it was a Cynthia Lund. I think it was Cynthia Smith. I don't even know if Cynthia Lund is here. Oh, she's not here, but that's okay. You guys may have it still. My 5-year-old non-speaking son is making progress in ABA, OT, and speech therapy. He's signing more and uses an AAC device. Communication is good. Hoping to keep working towards speech and potty training. Should I be happy with this progress, or what more do you think I can get from this? Honestly, that's your call, Mom. And that's the same with all of you guys, whether or not you're in ABA therapy or not. It's really your call to determine, like, are you happy with the progress, right? My biggest question I ask parents is also, 6 months ago, was your child in the same spot? And if they answer yes, then that's a big issue. I'm not doing a good job. If they say no, they're not, they're either a completely different kid or, oh goodness, excuse me, a completely different kid, or knows a lot more skills than they did previously, then I feel like I did a good job. But that's, again, every parent's going to be different. It's going to be really your call on what you think is appropriate. So that was all the questions you guys had. They were all phenomenal questions. What more can I help you guys with? Really, again, please sign up for a call. You liked how much passion I had, and I get it, and I love it. Please follow me on Facebook. Please sign up for a call, because some of you guys are in ABA, or some of you guys are getting the runaround. Oh, good. I'll answer that, Destiny. Some of you guys are getting the runaround with these ABA companies. We help with that too, right? Michelle, myself, all of us, we have experience with ABA companies that are doing it for the wrong reasons. And we want to make sure that we can help you guys out as much as possible. Happy overload. How do you calm them down? Cindy, I am going to put you back on because I want to have a conversation about it. I don't know if you like that, but it is what it is. So, so with the happy overload, it's very significant for us to understand, is it socially appropriate, right? Do you see a problem with it if he's doing it on his time, or is he doing it on your time? So which one would it be? I'll give you a few seconds. But then I'll just keep going after that. Cindy, I let you talk. I don't know if you noticed that either. Okay.
Can you hear me
We'll
now?
keep going. Oh, okay. Yep. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I'm the grandmother, and when he sees me, he gets excited and he starts screeching and jumping.
That's
Just
really sweet,
how
though.
do we calm him down? And like he gets excited in school and he'll start, screaming because he's nonverbal and he's 3 years old.
Yeah, when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? It's important because it's sensory. It seems at that point, possibly it could be attention. Again, I only know you for like
Yeah,
5
he
minutes.
does have sensory problems.
So it could be sensory. So then the best thing for you to do with sensory is always going to find a replacement behavior, something that can replace it, right? Whether that's him chewing on something so he can bite down on it instead of get all excited and scream, whether that's playing with a fidget item, whether that's blowing bubbles, whether that's some kind of action that allows him to not be as excited as we were. I did not post this. But yeah, so just something that allows him to understand what the expectations are for him. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, he does. He does like to have things in his hands a lot. He holds something, I think he feels
Yeah.
secure when he does that, but
So
I just didn't know.
You can just make him use it, right? In those kind of moments, ignore his behavior and prompt him to use that kind of material when he's feeling that way.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad I could help. Gigi also says, my son is potty trained in the day, but still urinates on himself at night. So he's in pull-ups. What advice do you have? Man, that's a hard one. That's a good one, but it's a hard one. You could focus more on if he understands it. The idea that if he wakes up, if he wakes up without being urinating on himself, then he gets some kind of reinforcer as soon as he wakes up, whether that's music or tickles or high fives, whatever it is, getting him to understand what is appropriate. So I would do that. So I hope that helps, Gigi. But yes, that was all really good. I posted the Instagram previously, but I didn't get to post it on there. If anyone is interested in following me, it's at autismintl. We're on Instagram. We also have a website called autismintl.com. Share it with your friends. We primarily do ABA in Houston, but I do this all of the time with Michelle. So Jen will post that link one more time where we can get you signed up for a free consultation where we can help you out. So Jen will post that link and we'll be good to go. Do we have other questions? I don't believe so. Anything else, you guys? Any other questions for me? Okay, then I guess, Jen, we can spin that wheel. Hey, David, congratulations. Jen will be in touch with you to get with you on a consultation with me. They'll let me know and we'll go, or really, I guess any of the BCBAs, I think. Yeah, but we're good to go. And any other questions, you guys are more than welcome. I'll see you. Please sign up for that free consultation. We really do care. We really want to make sure you guys feel as supported as possible. So thank you again, everyone. Have a great night.